Oh, Trench Crusade got me, baby! Today we're going to paint up my favourite mini from the last video. Alright, welcome back to Don't Think Just Paint. Yeah, okay, there's been a massive overhaul of the whole channel, and let me explain. So on this channel, which used to be called Don't Think Just Charge, I was doing painting stuff, hobby stuff, and then battle report stuff and talking heads. The battle reports didn't seem to be doing all that well, and what I think is the algorithm for my channel is based more in hobby and painting stuff. So what I was doing was it was showing those battle reports to people that don't really want to watch that, because obviously the audiences are different. Like, people might not want to watch battle reports just because they watch painting videos. What we decided, we would split the content, leaving this as the hobby channel, changing the name to Don't Think Just Paint. The reason for that and creating a new Don't Think Just Charge is because this was always hobby stuff in the first place, and the algorithm seems to agree with that. So this is now Don't Think Just Paint. Here you can see all of the painting, hobby, all of that kind of stuff when I kitbash, anything like that. And then you can hop over to the new Don't Think Just Charge, where Dave and I will carry on doing our battle reports. We'll be doing Trench Crusade, one-page rules, Infinity, all that good stuff, and of course the tactical analysis, the list building, all that kind of stuff. So I'll leave a link in the description, go follow that new channel, and yeah, let's make that one just as big as this one, shall we? Now, in my last video, I kitbashed a Warband. Like 10 seconds after I released it, someone got in the comments and told me that I'd missed out my heretic priest, which is meant to be the leader, so like the number is just 1, it's not 0 to 1, you don't choose. So you know, pay attention to the numbers, people. Don't do what I did.
Don't do what Donnie don't does.
So I need to adjust my Ducat cost and my glory cost and everything, make sure that everything kind of fits in. I'm also going to need to like print or kitbash a priest up, but I think that's a problem for another day. That's future Ed's problem. Painting is today Ed's problem, and I like today Ed much more than I like tomorrow Ed. So we're going to move straight on with painting, kick that can down the road and deal with it later on. Recently they came out with the John Blanche range of paints, and although I don't have them, it did inspire me to try some John Blanche style painting, so that's what I've been doing with my Trench Crusade team. I did a short of my anointed heavy infantry, and I've actually done a few since then as well. Now that I've kind of locked in the method, I am so excited to get to the artillery witch, because I think this one we're going to do some weird ethereal stuff with, and it's going to look quite cool. Before we start, these are the paints I used. Now, I'm not going to show these as I go, because I basically just threw them all down on my wet palette, and as I went I was kind of mixing things together, using whatever seemed right at the time, so there's not really a strict, like I used A then B then C, it's all just kind of a mishmash of all these colours that are on screen right now. I primed all of my stuff in a kind of mid-grey and then did a very half-assed zenithal spray. Don't even worry about that. And the main idea of this style is to just get some messy colours down that you'll refine as you want. We're kind of picking out like cold and light tones to start with, getting the kind of undershading that then we'll build upon to make a really nice interplay of colours. I know I want Mrs. Witchy Gal to look kind of like ethereal and ghostly, so like in the style of those John Blanche things with those like really stark whites and kind of like bony colours, I think the witch is going to be like almost white basically. What we want to do with this is pick a direction that the light is coming from. That's going to be our kind of warm tones, so we're going to use a lot of reds and yellows there. Now I've got green, which isn't typically a John Blanche colour, the one you see in his artworks very much, but this is going to serve as a really nice contrast to the kind of cold side of the mini, the side that the like sunlight or whatever isn't really hitting. It's probably fire in this, isn't it? Why would there be sunlight when there could be fire? It's always fire. Now, with this pre-shading method, I do want it to be a little bit darker than my intended colours, but I don't want it to be all the way. There'd be no point putting dark browns and reds all over everything just to have to highlight all the way back up to white for the witch. And you'll notice with this that I'm just going super messy here. I'm not worrying much about any details, anything like that. All I want to do is establish some really nice tones that are going to kind of set the model up for the details later on. So the paint is quite watered down, I mix it on the palette or I mix it on the model, I throw things over the top. If there's too much paint, I'll wick it off with the paintbrush, I'll mix it in again some more. Okay, that's the majority. The last thing I do is throw down the white hot ends of those chains. If you watched my last video, which if you didn't, go watch that and then come back here, you'll remember that the idea was that this mortar is like suspended by chains, and those chains are connected directly to hell, and that's why we're getting this kind of white hot thing. Like that's the kind of bit of hell that they connect into. And oh my god, this looks exactly how I pictured those yellows and oranges going into super vibrant colours. It just looks like the Blanchiest of Blanche pictures I've ever seen. I love it. Right, that is the first part done, and everything just looks a weird mix of colours. But if you've kind of kept to the principles of like lighter colours on top, colder colours and warmer colours on each side, then you should get this idea of how things are looking, and that's going to look really cool. So now, still in sketch mode, it's time to hone in on those highlights. Using ice yellow and bone white in a stippled and like sketchy, scratchy way, I'm going to come in and just pick out some of those higher areas. After that, on the cloak, I'm going to go back over with a pure white so that it looks really bright and unnatural. Just a little bit of that rough highlighting on the mortar and then some washes finish this next step. I'm going to use Carroburg Crimson Alder Metallics and Seraphim Sepia on the cloak. What that's going to do is now start to bring in those details of the recess shading which we've missed so far. Deciding to pick up on these little details as I go, I decided that maybe it'd be cool to do those mortar shells in red, just have them kind of, you know, stand out a little bit. They do come directly from hell, and yeah, I quite like that. The really cool thing about this technique is it gets really nice effects really quickly. This whole thing was about 20 minutes worth of painting. I literally just slapped paint down, barely waited for it to dry, slapped it again. The only time I wanted to make sure it was properly dried was before the washes, because obviously you don't want things missing. But yeah, about 20 minutes of painting and we are at this stage. So that means we have as much time as we want now to just really like define the things, get the textures on that we want, and go from there. As ever, I'm going to start with the cloak again. So I'd use white water down here, and now I am being a little bit more careful. So I'm going to pick out all those edges, do some edge highlighting, and then create a lot of texture with squishy scratchy marks. When I do this to the mortar, I'm going to mix around with a few different colours. All the stuff on my palette is kind of coming together to make various shades of like browns and almost like into greeny tones and stuff, just because I want to go over multiple layers, because it's a really cool way to make metal look kind of like beaten and scratched and all that kind of thing. You really want to overlap that stuff. Next, I'm looking to neaten up those chains. I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing here with yellow and then some white at the very ends. I shade it after that with a watered down orange, just trying to use that as like a bit of a shade for those top areas. Make sure they don't go too dark, because then they'll look like they are properly burning. After that, I wanted to give it a kind of burnt metal effect, which is like where they go a little bit bluish. I tried some Talisar blue, didn't really work. Don't worry about that. But then I went into purple, and purple looked amazing. So I put purple in between where the hot metal is and where the basic metal is, and then just feathered that out. And that's it. I painted the top of the base in Scorched Earth, did a quick wash of Oblivion Black, did a bit of rimming, and then I was ready to go. This method is so much fun because you don't really feel like you're having to follow a particular set of instructions or colour guides. You're mostly just like throwing stuff on the Mini and having fun with the colours, working out what looks cool enough. It gets you a really nice effect early on, where other techniques have you building it up over time, so you kind of trust the process and then it ends up looking good. This one is just super satisfying early on to experiment. It's also super quick. This whole thing took me maximum an hour. So what do you think? Is this something that you would ever give a try yourself? Would you do it with colours other than the Blanchitsu style of painting? I could see it working nice with lots of cold colours, with like a whole mix of colours. I think that would be awesome. Do you want to see me painting more of these in videos, or do you just want me to shut up already, get them done so you can see them in the battle reports? As always, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed watching this whole process. It's been a lot of fun to film. The engagement is super appreciated. You don't even know how much. So all the buttons that YouTube's put below the screen here, if you could just press them, do all that stuff, share it around if you want to, subscribe to see more, and importantly, go and subscribe to the new Don't Think Just Charge. Okay, bye then.